Okay, in this video I'm going to show you a learning tool called Immersive Reader. So Immersive Reader helps students read large amounts of text by listening to it being read aloud to them through their device. It's available on all the Microsoft Office apps, and what I'm going to show to you today, I'll show it to you on Microsoft Word and OneNote. So just as an example, we'll go to Microsoft Word and we'll open up a file. Let's say as a classroom teacher you were planning on handing this out in hard copy, which is fine, but for some students you think it might be more achievable for them to actually use Immersive Reader in your classes on a device, whether that be a laptop or an iPad, to hear this read aloud to them either on earphones or in a quiet area in the room. So once we've got our file open and you've emailed or shared that with them somehow, they can see there's a lot of writing there, okay? There's a lot of text that they have to absorb, and for some students, reading can be difficult. So what we can do is we come up here to View, and we have a tool here called Immersive Reader. When we click it on, it changes the appearance of the text. Now, we can use these menu options here to personalize how we want the page to look as we're reading. Now, if a student has an Infinity laptop, there are far more menu options here, but this is an iPad version. There's still a few things you can change, but it's not as extensive as the laptop version. So once we're happy with the way the page looks, I think I'll just space the words out a little bit to make it easier to follow. We can click on Read Aloud here.
Event name. Description. British claim possession. Arrival of First Fleet.
Okay, so it just begins to read aloud the text. So a student can be sitting there listening to this and following on with their eyes, which can help them absorb the information in greater depth if you as the classroom teacher are not reading it aloud to the whole class and are just saying off you go read this, or if you've assigned it as a homework task and they are asked to read it at home, they can simply use their device and Immersive Reader to assist them. I'll keep pressing play here so you can hear how it reads out, and you can adjust the speed settings. I'll show you how that works here.
April 29th, 1770 Captain Cook claims possession of East Coast. The 24th of January 1788 First Fleet arrives in Botany Bay.
We can turn it faster.
The 26th of January 1788 Captain Arthur Phillip raises the Union Jack at Sydney Cove.
Okay, we can make her slower.
Protection and control policy. 1837, the policy of protection for Aboriginal people marks the beginning of involvement of the Catholic Church in missionary work and the establishment of schools for Aboriginal children. Protectors of...
So students can press pause and keep playing as they're listening, which helps them, particularly if they're having to read and answer questions. If they hear something that they know, oh, I have to answer my question about that, they can pause, reread it, and then continue on, which is really helpful. So that's Immersive Reader, and when they're finished reading and they want to go back to the normal file, simply come up here and you can close Immersive Reader. So that's how it works on an iPad in the Word app. We can also use it in OneNote. So if you're a teacher who puts classroom activities on a OneNote, I like to do that, you can use OneNote and the students can use Immersive Reader in there. So let's go into OneNote. Let's find a class where the students have read something out. Let me see. Okay, all right, let's read this out. So here is some text in a OneNote class notebook that you've set up for your students, and they have to read all of this, and then they've got some work assigned after that. So rather than reading it, they can decide that they want to hear it. Same way, if we go up here, we've got View, we've got Immersive Reader here. So if we click on Immersive Reader, it will change the appearance of the screen. It will spread the words out and make it easier for them to read. Now, our options to change the way the text looks are up here. Okay, we can make the text smaller, we can make it larger, we can change the font, we can change the background color. over here we can actually make it line focus, one line at a time. Okay, 3 lines at a time. I quite like 1 line at a time. If we need to translate it, if we have a student whose English is not their first language, they can do that as well. Okay, you can even get it to highlight verbs, adjectives, nouns. Let's turn that off for now, if that's what you need them to do. But for the most part, it's more about just listening and understanding the text. So let's close out the menu and press play so you can see how it works. However, I might start it a bit further down so you can actually select where you want to start reading. All right, let's start here and press play.
2. By the summer of 1933, Hitler had destroyed the constitutional, parliamentary, and federalist bases of the Weimar Republic and had created the basic structure of his Nazi dictatorship.
Okay, you can change the voice as well if you prefer a male voice.
The dictatorship. He had combined the legislative and executive powers in his own person and had largely brought the judiciary under his control as well. Hindenburg was becoming increasingly feeble.
Okay, now once you've finished listening, we can simply come up here and click on there to exit out, and that brings us back to our OneNote page. So that's just a couple of ways that you can use Immersive Reader in Word and OneNote, that students can access texts and read them or have them read to them in a way that might be less difficult than if they were presented with a hard copy piece of paper filled with text that they are expected to read and understand. While I'm on OneNote, I'll also show you the dictation tool on here. So under all of our lessons, where the students have an area where they can take notes. So here is where they might answer questions, produce work for you. Now when they've got their keyboard on their iPad up like this, the dictation tool is simply down here on the keyboard. So as soon as we click on that and dictate, the words will appear on the screen. Now because I'm recording this screen audio, when I click on dictation, I don't think you're going to be able to hear me because my device is busy listening to me dictating, but we'll give it a go. Okay, so students can dictate into the OneNote just like they can in Microsoft Word, and then they can share that with you. And in fact, on a class notebook, you can see their class notes as they're being entered in. So that's another way that electronically students can produce work to show their knowledge rather than put pen to paper.